Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. I'm Chief here, and joining me today is Juicy. We just had the NCAA selection show today, so we're just going to kind of break out everything that we know and how impressed we are with the committee for actually putting the Raging Cajuns in there. Juicy, I thought Tulane was going to mess everything up for the Cajuns because Tulane had over 40 something loss, over 40 losses, 40 losses this year, excuse me, and it looked like that was kind of the plan there that, would have maybe hurt the Cajuns. Like the notion was that they're going to take up one of those spots there that the Cajuns needed to have. And the Cajuns made it on one of the last four in category. What was your reaction to seeing the Cajuns make it in the tournament?
You're right. It seemed like Tulane was going to hurt them, but right from the show, they won the conference title. So, obviously, they would have got first choice, but I'm glad they were able to put the Cajuns in. The Cajuns definitely played well in the Sun Belt tournament. I thought they deserved a shot at being in there with how well they played, even beating Coastal, which he was actually hosting a regional as well, number 10 national seed. They definitely have. Of their RPIs were late in the Sun Belt tournament, and that's why they play conference tournaments. Because it seems like that, like you mentioned, Tulane with over 40 losses. That's actually the record for most losses by a Division One baseball team to make the NCAA tournament.
Hey, like teams like that get hot, and you never know what's going to happen with that. Like we see with Tulane go win a conference tournament, go get yourself an NCAA regional play here. Now Tulane goes to Baton Rouge to take on LSU here, so included in that regional is the Tigers are playing that one. I think they're the second game. Are they? Or are they first? I'm trying to remember how the schedule.
They were first game.
So regardless, I think LSU is going to beat Tulane. It'd be really hard for me to pick against them here, but I think the big question is, do you pitch Paul Skeens? Now, I think if the situation was different, this was a single elimination tournament, which it isn't. It's double elimination. I would probably pitch Skeens in the first game, but I think the wise move for Jay Johnson then would be to put him in maybe second, third game. You might meet up with Oregon State in that regional is what the prognosis would be. Wait, what did you see?
I wouldn't even start a Todd Floyd either because he's been pitching pretty well his last few starts too. I would try one of the bullpens out, like maybe give Thatcher Hurd another run at a start because he pitched well against South Carolina in his last start in the SEC tournament.
So we're tracking like percentages, right, of who can win this tournament of all of these teams here. We'll do Coral Gables Regional and we'll do Baton Rouge as well. But we'll start off with the Baton Rouge one because LSU is the number 5 national seed here in day one. What it's looking like for us predictions go. LSU, according to our predictor here, has a 73.7% chance to win the Baton Rouge Regional. Second is Oregon State with a 21.4%. Sam Houston State is 4.7%. Tulane, they have a chance. They're at 0.2%. So I am saying there is a chance here. So percentages wise, more than likely LSU is going to beat Tulane. More than likely they will probably play against Oregon State. I think if Oregon State's the one team in that regional that I would be concerned about if I was LSU fans in general.
But that's where you start Paul's team.
Yeah, that way you can get yourself into the championship final. And then you could probably throw him again, like the if they were to lose that final game.
You still got Todd Floyd.
Yeah, you can throw. I think Todd Floyd would be good for a third game. I would say both your 1 and 2 guys here for sure. Looking at who they played, I know Oregon won the Pac-12 tournament, but Oregon State actually beat them. Oregon State does have some they've had a pretty good year, 39-18. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Their RPI is 37. Strength of schedule is at 72. So they're a pretty good ball club. If you look at quadrant records for RPI, quadrant 1 record, which was viewed heavily with the committee, which is why UC Irvine didn't make the tournament and why they put the Cajuns over. In addition to them beating Coastal twice, was one of the reasons why. That if you listen to what the committee chairman was saying, it was kind of one of those things why you put them over there. So 8-6 record in quadrant one, and quadrant two they were 11-7. So they've played high quality teams in the Pac-12 and in their non-conference. They have their highest RPI team they played against was Stanford. They got swept against Stanford. And Oregon 34, Washington 36, USC 53, Arizona 45.
RPI.
Yeah. So UCLA 64. So they've had guys in the top 100. So
those aren't exceedingly great RPIs.
But they're in that quadrant one and quadrant two realm, which the top 100 is what you really need to look at, because that's kind of the baseline between average to good, and you got a quadrant one, good to great.
Where all the RPIs are like in the top 30 and stuff.
They had talk about Georgia even making it, and I was like, Georgia does not need to be anywhere near the NCAA regional. Because RPI is flawed. There is a flawedness about it, because sometimes, and you got this notion with teams canceling games because of RPI. But I know there needs to be a metric, because Georgia was 29-27, had an RPI of 42.
Well, they're more deserving than Tulane. Only just Tulane won the conference title,
like I said. But if you go deep dive into there needs to be more of a metric than this RPI facing teams there, which is like Georgia. Quadrant one record was 11-19. Quadrant two 6-4. That quadrant one should automatically dispel you from having a notion, because you have plenty of opportunities. I can understand if it was kind of closer here, but you got to be able to play better than that, though, for sure. Granted, they do have a tough conference, though. I've seen some of the commentators saying Florida had the most talent in the entire country. I mean, that was kind of one there. Oh, bless you, Juicy. Anyway, I got LSU winning this regional. I don't see them getting beat by Oregon State. I think the Tigers, they have the bats. Just a matter of the pitching here, which LSU did pitch pretty well in the SEC tournament, though. I will give them that.
I was impressed with the pitch. The bullpen only made a couple of mistake pitches, but outside of that, they really didn't give up a bunch of runs. Outside of a couple of, like a 3-run home run, which cost them a game, but then they didn't give up any more runs after that. They actually pitched pretty good. If the offense would have helped them out a little bit, but Jay Johnson did kind of fool with the lineup, so I guess he was just kind of like, I guess he just kind of treated the SEC tournament like a rested period for some of the starters and stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense, though. I mean, if you're already got a national seed and you're going to be hosting the super regional, and you pretty much got that in your back pocket, you might as well rest your guys. I mean, it makes no sense here. And just to kind of see here, because the NCAA tournament is where you want to be in, and you want to have your best guys available to go there. So no need to push for a conference title win and risk injury to your guys if that is a possibility. But some guys, they got to keep the season going, which is why they do this kind of thing. So we'll see what happens with LSU and their Baton Rouge regional here.
I thought they played pretty well.
I got LSU win the regional. What you got, Juicy?
I have the same thing. I think they'll win I think they'll go 3-0. I think they'll win 3 games.
All right, now we'll go to Coral Gables, which is here's the chances here with our predictor here with the Miami Hurricanes being the number 9 national seed. They play host to Texas, Louisiana, and Maine there. Louisiana, the team that we're focusing on here, but we're going to go through all the percentages, and here's what they break down to be. Miami is at 52.2%. Texas is at 32.7%. The Cajuns were at 14.9%. Maine's at 0.2%. So the Cajuns are at 14.9%. Now, in relation to these other percentages for the number 3 seed.
Miami's actually kind of low for a number 1.
Yeah, like that. Like I'm telling you, this regional they're in is kind of brutal. Their only number 3 seed that I think I see. There's two. I'm looking at all 3. They have the 4th highest number 3 seed chance to win their regional, which Arizona has the highest as a number 3 seed to win at 18.6. But Miami, the lowest one of national seeds is Oklahoma State. They're at 41.8%, with Dallas Baptist at 33.1%.
Yeah, Dallas Baptist is pretty good too, though.
I want to see where Auburn's got a low one too. They're at 49.3. Southern Miss is at 38.9. I can see Southern Miss beating Auburn.
I think I was gonna say that too.
Coastal and Duke, they're at 48 and 41% respectively. So yeah, that's the thing here. I'm kind of worried about Coastal a little bit because they lost back-to-back games to the Cajuns, and I can see Campbell beating South Carolina. Even though they got 36.1, I would bump them up a little bit more. I think they could take out South Carolina, even though South Carolina's at 51%. But anyway, back to the Coral Gables regional here. The one thing that bothers me about the Cajuns was their pitching. But here's the thing. We talked about Cajun pitching all year. They did pitch pretty well in the Sun Belt tournament. So they made it all the way through the conference final, which is what got them in there with the 2 wins over Coastal. Because their RPI shot up by like 20-something points here. They ended up getting it in there. I thought them beating Coastal once would have got them in there, but that would have been very fringe. It might not have been enough, but it did convince them enough that where they would be all right here. Now, granted, Texas is RPI 28 here. So if we're putting numbers
What's
here.
What's the RPI again?
Texas?
No, the Cajuns.
Cajuns RPI is at 47.
I remember before the tournament was like 70 or something.
Yeah, but them 2 wins over Coastal, which Coastal was 14, really moved them up a good bit. And they played Southern Miss, who had an RPI of 21.
Yeah, the RPI got them into the tournament.
Yeah, Texas is at 28 here. So there's a chance the Cajuns could beat Texas. It's kind of hard to tell. Quadrant 1 record is 7-10. Quadrant 2 is 6-6. It's tough. Cajuns are at 67 strength of schedule, which Texas, if I compare their resumes, they did play. I think Texas played LSU, if I remember right. Yeah, early in the season. Early in the season. They're 12-11. Quadrant 2 is 8-5. So if I'm predicting a winner between the Cajuns and Texas, I'm gonna go with Texas because I just don't think the Cajuns. The Cajuns got bats. That's the risk. They do have bats. They can hit the ball. They've been hitting the ball a little bit better than normal here, especially against good pitchers against Texas State and Coastal. It's not like some inconceived thing that they can't beat these teams here. But I was surprised they beat Texas State 5 different times this year. So Southern Miss has been having their number here. The Cajuns did beat them one time. They were 1-4 against them this year.
The Cajuns have won a number 3 seed before. Look at that.
They have. It's going to depend on what Cajun team shows up. If they play with the same fire like they did on Saturday against Coastal, I think they could beat Texas if they do the same way they do it there. But it's just going to depend here. I got Texas. Who you got, Juicy?
You know, I'm not going to be surprised, but I actually think the Cajuns are going to be honest.
Oh, you think so?
I really think so. Texas really isn't. Texas has kind of really been hit or miss, and so a lot of people might be surprised, but I actually think the Cajuns going to keep rolling and actually beat Texas, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right. Well, I do think here's what I think is going to happen in this regional here. I say the Cajuns lose game 1. Because I think the Cajuns played better if their backs against the wall. I really believe that, And
the tournament line on the line.
yeah, if they're on the live, they're going to give you 110%. That there's no doubt about that. Even when I think they play better because like down the stretch, if you notice under Deggs, like last year, they didn't have like this year's feeling is a lot better because they were actually recognized by the committee for an at-large bid. Last year, they wouldn't have got in with their resume of an at-large. Cajuns made it on a run in the Sun Belt last year to win the tournament and get into a regional here. This year, they make it to a regional without needing to win the tournament. So I think Miami beats Maine. I got them moving on. I think Miami will play Texas. I think the Cajuns will beat Maine, knock Maine out of the tournament, and they'll meet up with. Like I think the Cajuns can win this regional. It's a chance here. I think it depends on the matchup and who's pitching on that certain day here. If the Cajuns can get number one and number two pitcher and their lineup really rolling, and pitching 5-6 innings and get not leaving the bullpen as much to do work, and if their bats come alive and stuff, it could line up very well for them. I think in this regional, I got the Cajuns. I think the Cajuns might actually eliminate Texas. I think if their backs against the wall, I think the Cajuns will fight harder than Texas would. I think it's more of a drive thing, but I do think Miami does end up winning out of this regional. What you think, Juicy?
I'm agree with you. I think the Cajuns beat Texas. Miami beats Maine. Texas and Maine play. I think Texas eliminates Maine. Cajuns lose to Miami, and the Cajuns will eliminate Texas and then be in a regional final with Miami. And I think the Cajuns even go as far as taking it to a winner take all.
So you're taking it to day 4, is what you're saying?
I think the Cajuns are going to take it to winner take all, and Miami's going to beat them in the winner take all game.
Yeah, I think if the Cajuns beat Texas in this day, like here's my other scenario that I think could very well play out here. If the Cajuns jump on Texas and actually beat them in that game 1, I think they're going to win this tournament. I think if the Cajuns jump on Texas and knock them out day 1 and they go into Miami to play Miami, they'll probably lose that one, but I think they'll play better and knock Texas or Maine, whoever advances out of that elimination will probably be Texas. That's my other scenario, I think, here. I think in that situation, if they do go to a day 4 and they have beaten Miami that one time, I think they will play better if they do a double elimination in the day 4 game. If they play 2.
I'm not saying the Cajuns going to win the regional, but I think they'll take it to a winner-take-all game.
My prediction is this here. The Cajuns will win this regional if they beat Texas the first day. They won. If they beat Texas, they're going to win this regional. If they lose to Texas, they'll make it to a regional final and lose to Miami. They probably won't even beat them once. They'll probably end up losing there. That's what I think.
That's high on the Cajuns. I haven't forced in a game a winner-take-all, but I think Mike also may win.
That's fair.
But I hope I'm wrong.
So we know we got some of these regionals lined up with each other here. They have the tournament performance by conference, which I'm kind of like, there's nothing on here yet, but it shows you how many teams are in it and where the Sun Belt, believe it or not, have the 5th highest. They have more than the Big Ten, more than American Athletic, Conference USA. They beat all these teams. Mountain West. The only conferences that have more than the Sun Belt is the Pac-12, Big 12, ACC, and SEC. SEC has 10 teams in the tournament this year. So, who you think the Tigers fighting their super regional, Juicy?
Who's in the Lexington region? I forgot because that's who they lined up with.
That was Kentucky. Hold on, let me go back. I had just had this whole thing. Hold up.
That's who they're matched up with, the Lexington regional.
They got Kentucky. Now, percentage for that regional is Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and Ball State. Percentage for that one: Kentucky 63.5. West Virginia 27, Indiana 9.4, and Ball State 0.2.
I actually want to think that West Virginia is a surprise team who's been really on the up. I think West Virginia got stubbed out of hosting. Honestly, I think West Virginia's going to come out of that region.
Oh,
But
this is interesting.
Kentucky,
I want to
Kentucky
see if they
obviously might
actually
come
they'll let me read this or not. No, I don't want to
Kentucky
play no
obviously can
video.
make it to the host, but I think West Virginia's going to come out.
Everything looks so good.
All right. So here, I found this article here. How many? What does it say? Here's how often each seed makes the Men's College World Series. So if you're a regional seed and you were a third seed, of course, and we're going to talk about the last 5 years on record. We're not. I'm not going to go all the way through the like 2000 and stuff because they actually have totals. Okay, so the World Series. Here's how this all breaks down for you. 136 number one seeds in regionals have made the College World Series. That represents 73.9% of the field. 30 of those number two seeds have made it. They're 16.3%. 16 of them, number three seeds, made it. That makes 8.7%. And there's only been two number four seeds to make it to the College World Series. That happened in 2008 and 2012. They represent 1.1%. So that's the data that's been analyzed here. So the last 5 years, here's how it broken down. For number one seeds in 2022, 4 of them made it. 2021, number one seeds, 6 of them made it. 2020, COVID won. 2019, number five number one seeds made it. And 2018, number one seeds made it. 2017, number 6 number one seeds made it. So as far as number two seeds go, last year 3 of them made it. 2021, 1 of them made it. 2019, 1 of them made it. 2018, 1. 2017, 1. Which is kind of interesting because the number 3 seeds are kind of like on par with the number 2 seeds compared to earlier like seeds in like earlier years if you look at the data. So 2017, 1. 2018, 1. Number 2019, they had 2. 2021, 1. 2022, 1 as well. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. So let's look at so you thinking West Virginia gets out of there?
I think so. I mean, I think West Virginia got out of hosting, to be honest.
I think Kentucky makes it out of that regional. I got LSU and Kentucky in the supers. I do have LSU.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kentucky is the favorite. They are the host, and I mean, it's not going to really surprise me if Kentucky does. I mean, but I think this regional is going to come down to a winner take all. I mean, I think West Virginia's going to. I feel like West Virginia's going to pull it out, but I mean, Kentucky very well could. But I just think it'll be LSU and West Virginia. But if it is LSU Kentucky, they played each other early in the regular season, and it was a heck of a series too.
So I'm looking at the way this bracket is set up. This would be wild. Okay, let's say the Cajuns win their regional and super regional, and LSU does the same, and they make it to the College World Series. They'll be in 2 different brackets in the College World Series. The Cajuns be in bracket 1, LSU be in bracket 2. What if they both made the national championship game?
That would be wild, but that was still highly unlikely. That's a lot to play.
A lot of baseball left to be played before we get to that point. But anyway, so Stanford and Miami are paired up at 8 and 9 seeds. I think they got Stanford, A&M, San Jose State, and Cal State Fullerton.
That's actually a tough region.
I'm thinking Stanford makes it out of that one though. I'll give it to the number 1 seed. I want to say A&M, but I think Stanford's got a little bit more than A&M does.
Nah, I think Stanford.
You got Stanford?
I got Stanford in that one.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the scenario. But if the Cajuns beat Texas in game 1, I think they'll get enough momentum to ride through that whole regional and win it. There's something weird about this Cajun team whenever they get on a jump on somebody. Or if their back's against the wall, they're going to fight. But it's just like they run out of steam in the SBC. They play better in like tournament formats, I noticed, under Matt Deggs. I know Tony did a pretty good job during the regular season. He had a good pitching. But Deggs and them bats, man, he knows how to coach them up with hitting. That ain't the problem. It's just the pitching. All right. So I think we covered everything we had to cover here today. I want to give a shout out to the Louisiana Raging Cajuns softball team on a great season they had. They ended up getting beaten in the Super Regional as we posted on our social media accounts. I mean, they had a lot of accomplishments this year. Sunbelt regular season champions, tournament champions, um, Baton Rouge regional champions, making it to the Supers. Very good job by the Louisiana Raging Cajun softball program. So that's my shout out to them. Any last words before we get off, Juicy?
No, I think that's it. Congrats to the softball team, though. Like you said, it was a good run for them.
Now, actually, I want to ask you one more question before we get off here, Juicy. Does Beth Torina deserve to be fired? Because a lot of LSU fans have been jumping like, oh, she needs to go. Is this something that needs to happen here? What's
I
your
think
thought?
she's been there for 12 years. I think she's had more than enough time.
What do you think is the okay? So I guess I'm going to ask you this: like, what is the criteria for the softball program? What should be the yearly expectation?
To me, the bare minimum should be super regionals. I don't think LSU based softball's been the super regional since not at least since COVID. They haven't been. I might be wrong, but I think it's even been longer than that. But at the bare minimum, I think LSU shouldn't come up no shorter than super regional.
All right, I'm gonna go tell you when the last time they made it to the Supers were. Let's see, the tournament. The last time they made the Super Regional was 2021.
Oh, they did make it. Okay,
Uh,
post COVID.
did they? They haven't made it to the World Series since 2017.
See, that's a bigger issue.
That's the 2018, 2019 COVID one, then 2021. I think it's kind of hard to get rid of her if you've been to the Super Regional the last 2 years.
But if it's 21, I think get another crack at it again.
I would say give her another 2 years and see what happens with it. I'm more of giving 3 or 4 years for a coach once they do something kind of big. That's kind of me. Because, I mean, you put him in the top 16 there. I know LSU fans expect to have a national championship every year, but just like it's so hard to repeat if you're going to do something like that. They had a stretch where they made the 3 in a row World Series 15, 16, and 17, but that was interesting.
That was all for you. Too.
All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. I hope you have a great and wonderful day. We'll see y'all next time here on the Fishbowl.